Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, crazy babies, to another episode of Jam Sessions with your host, yours truly, Joe Mycutt. I have a really great author on today. I hope you enjoy the interview, and be sure to stay tuned after the interview for a few great book recommendations. Without further ado, I'm going to scooch along off stage and bring on our next author.
Give it to me like...
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, crazy babies, to another episode of Jam Sessions. I'm super excited to have a new guest with me here today, Miss Shakkoi Hibbert. And interesting fact about her, she is coming via internet all the way from Toronto, where I just came from. So I feel like I'm bringing back a little piece with me. So thank you so much for joining us, Miss Shakkoi Hibbert. How are you today?
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to have our conversation and just talk more about the beauty of art.
Yes, absolutely. The importance and beauty of art. It is language that transcends all rules, and we get to say creatively what we can't say sometimes, what we really want to say in other ways. So
yes,
I love it. And that leads us to your book. Your book is Poems of Pain and Power. And that can be found on Amazon.com. Are there any other places?
Yes, Amazon or needsomekoi.com.
Okay, perfect. So you have a website for it. All right.
Yeah.
Now tell us about Poems of Pain and Power. It sounds pretty self-explanatory in the book, but as the author, what is this book about in your words?
So this book is about, it's like a constant reminder of the fact that we are going to go through pain. We are going to have moments of anger that we're unsure of, but our power is actually in diving deep into these moments and emotions and finding out what is the reason, like what are we supposed to learn from these trials and tribulations that we overcome. And then also, because it has a component of journal prompts, I think it's really great for people to also be able to learn how to write, because I think a lot of the times people don't consider themselves an artist or a writer because they don't perform, but you don't have to perform your art to consider yourself an artist. So it's just a nice reminder that, hey, we're going to go through it, but now that we've gone through it, what can we actually do to progress?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I love that. And almost unanimously, everybody that I've spoke with, interviewed, and talked to about, in some way or another, their project is connected to the idea of turning pain into power, of transmuting. We talk about it over and over and over again. Anybody that watches these regularly must be sick of me saying the word transmuting. But I really do believe it's like, if you imagined us as like some X-Men that could like pull the energy of the room into like a big ball and then like rework it and then put it back out as something better, that's exactly what it is. It's a creative power of transmuting those things. And you're right. We have to find our power in the points where we feel weak, because that's when our power is most present. So
exactly.
It's like anybody can smile when everything's perfect, but the true meaning of happiness is being able to smile when you have no reason to.
Exactly. And really realizing that just because you lost something doesn't mean that you can't like find it back in your everyday life. And I feel like I'm able to find back a part of the love that I lost through reciting my poems and sharing them with others.
And that is beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. Not only for you to empower other people in that way, but for you to empower yourself. And a lot of times, we speak of, I heard a speaker the other day talking about how we've so strongly attached ourselves to the concept that death or things like that are a loss, and they're not.
Yes.
They've simply transitioned to a different form. Let's say you have a caterpillar and you love this caterpillar. It's your pet and you love it and it loves you and you have such a bond with it. And one day the caterpillar is gone, but there's a butterfly flying around your home. And you're like, I lost my caterpillar. You're like, move, butterfly, move. I'm looking for my caterpillar. I can't find my caterpillar. Stupid butterfly, you're in my way. Why do you keep bothering me while I'm trying to find my caterpillar? And not ever realizing that the thing you think you lost is right in front of you, just in a different form. So,
Yes, that's such a beautiful analogy. I
right.
love that.
The caterpillar's not gone or lost because it's transitioned to a butterfly, right? It's not.
Yes. And I
So,
feel like I transitioned to a butterfly from my loss. So you saying that, I'm really like, wow, I really
yeah,
be fluttering.
you look like a butterfly. You feel like a butterfly. I love it. So
Thank
you are a
you.
butterfly. Absolutely.
Thank
And
you.
now, what do you hope people? We kind of touched on this, but you can expand on it. What do you hope people take from your book, from the experience of reading it?
I hope people take that they can be the ones to change their lives. They can be the ones to create the things that they don't see. Because I would hear that term all the time, and I'm like, the term of like, yes, create your future, you can be the one, but I'm like, but how? Especially when you're like dealing with like a painful situation or trauma from grief. How do you actually get yourself out of that? How do you start thinking to do more, wanting to do more. And so that's why I think that with this book, it's to really get people to see, like, hey, things could be really sucky, but there's still something that you can do from this by taking the time to reflect and ask yourself various questions like, okay, this happened. What can I do now? How can I make the most of it? Because for myself, what had happened was I lost my mom to cancer at the age of 19. And I was like, this really sucks, but there has to be something that I can do with it. And now I'm able to travel, be doing podcasts like this, talking about my book, and the fact that like um I feel like her passing was almost like my when I went into the cocoon phase. But when
Mhm.
I was finally able to fully accept it, then I was able to figure out what I can do about it. And I was like, just because she's not here physically doesn't mean that I'm not going to bring her into my work. And that made me fall in love with poetry so much more because I'm like, there's places where I can talk about her on stage as if she's there in the crowd. So it's just a feeling that I can't really explain. Like it's just a very magical feeling.
No, absolutely. And I would even take it further to say it's not only even as if she's there on stage, but quite literally when you speak of her, when you incorporate her into your creative process, you quite literally bring her there. She is there.
Yeah.
And I another thing that I heard yesterday or the day before was also the concept when our loved ones pass on. Part of the process of their transitioning is that because we're connected, genetically and emotionally and spiritually, we are all of the people in our lines before us and that come after us. We're all connected.
Yep.
So each time a loved one transitions over, they're spiritually connecting us to source, to that energy
Yes.
source. So they're acting as a bridge between us and this source. And so imagine them as like this energetic tether that's now with you, but also holding you closer to a source that you were further connected from. So I love that.
Yes.
And two, another thing on a more lighthearted note, you mentioned the prompts in your poetry book, and that's great
Yes.
because in Poetry Lovers, are you a member of Poetry Lovers, the big poetry group online?
On Facebook?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. We do prompts in there, and so I love that idea. And I actually do one that's called the energy of the day. And what'll happen is I'll go
Mm.
throughout my day, and I feel like the universe will want me to communicate something, and it'll be random. Like, let's say it'll just be a strawberry, and every time I turn around I see a strawberry, and then there's a strawberry on this sign, and then somebody offers me a strawberry milk, and then I turn the corner and there's a man selling strawberries on the side of the road, and I'm like, strawberries all around me. So I look up the spiritual meaning of strawberries and what strawberries signify, and then I realize the universe is speaking a language, and the word that it's using is strawberry, and the meaning is what's attached to it. So then I love prompts, and I think that that's great that you've incorporated that. That's makes your book interactive.
Yes, yes, because I wanted people to be able to take something away that they could actually create with as well. And I love what you said about the strawberry, because sometimes, exactly, it's just that message that we need to really look in a little bit deeper. So I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it would even be fun if viewers, if and people, fans of yours who get your book, if they even used your prompts to write or create, and then maybe found a way to tag you or show you and say, "Hey, look what came from this prompt." tag you on
Yeah.
Facebook or message you through your website, or even leave a review on Amazon saying, I followed her prompts and I was able to create. And I think that would be a great testimony to what you've put out in the world.
Yes, no, that's a great idea. I'm gonna kind of push that in a little more for people because that would be great. And I would love to see what people create from the prompts, especially because the prompts are connected to a poem. So it gives you like an example of what a poem could look like based off this prompt.
Yes, absolutely. And it's so fun as a creative person. A lot of people can sometimes get offended or insulted when something they've written or created doesn't get the attention or doesn't get the feedback they thought. But I love it, even if it's positive or negative. Like I did this one art piece, and it was an Aries piece, and it was the Aries ram, and it was a big tribal looking face, and it was floating in the galaxy. And somebody told me, they said, I see anger in this. There's so much anger in this piece. And I was like, really? But I love when people give us their perspective, and it's always going to mirror them. So when they look at your work and your poems, and then they come up with something totally different or off the wall from your prompt, that's really cool.
Yes.
So, what inspired the cover art? I think you have a copy of your book there with you. Can we see it?
Yes.
Beautiful. You know what it
And
reminds me of? It's really modern and cool, and has. I love that it's the all inclusivity, and it kind of has like that. What was that School of Rock back in the day?
yes.
Cartoon where they taught you things. So, what inspired it?
So I really wanted people to look at the book and either see themselves if they're youth or see their younger selves. So I wanted to be intentional about making it a variety of different people just to push the message that we all feel pain. And the more that we can accept that we all feel pain, the more that we can be open to others going through pain. So I really wanted like a youthful vibe to it because I also bring this into schools with me when I do teach. And a lot of my other book covers, well, my other two books, they were me on the front. So I wanted people to really be able to see themselves and want to pick it up and see various people coming together because that's what art does. It brings various people from different walks of life together. So I wanted to show that with this book, with this book cover.
That's amazing, and it's beautiful, and I think it does just that. And one thing you said there that I think is so important is that pain is universal. We get so caught up in trying to compete with whose pain is greater and
Yes.
whose atrocity was worse. And that's really
Mhm.
silly when you think about it, because pain is pain. If you and I touch a hot stove, we're both going to feel a physical pain. And to argue who's greater or who is affected more by it is silly, because the pain is just pain.
Yes, exactly. And it just opens the door for a new conversation. Like, okay, we all feel pain. What have we done about it? What can we do about it? Maybe there's something in your journey of healing that can help someone else. So it really just opens doors as opposed to thinking that you're the only one. Because I think that individualism really just takes away from how we can heal as a community and as like in a global manner.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's one thing that anytime I've ever gotten into dived deep and gotten into the weird conversations with people, it's when you always find out that we have the same weird thoughts, we have the same
Yes.
strange. It's so crazy to me, and TikTok and things like that is now really making that mainstream, because people are like, "Have you ever just been driving down the road and thought, what if I just drive my car off this bridge?" And people are like, "I thought I was the only one that had these weird random thoughts."
Right? And you're like, I'm okay, but I don't know. I just think this.
Right. And I think that is also empowering. So I love that you are drawing people together almost to kind of open up the taboo conversation about pain, and finding your empowerment and making it relatable amongst everybody. Now, with that
Yes.
being said, what would you say is maybe one of the most impactful pieces in your book, and why?
I would say the piece that is titled Message to My Anxiety. Um, it's my favorite because it still helps me on a daily basis. When I feel uncomfortable, I'll recite that poem in my head. And I feel like that is the one poem that's really been able um to do well across various different people, ages, shapes, learning abilities. It really connects because, especially because I present as a very confident person. So when I'm there on stage and I'm like, hey, I'm this confident, but this is also what I'm dealing with, like a lot of anxiety just showing up, being here, but I'm still able to push through. And I feel like it's just very, especially because we didn't necessarily have these terms 10 years ago that we were really using or privy to, like anxiety. So I really love the fact that with that piece, it's like I understand how these things really hurt us, but then at the end, it's like, but we can also use our perspective to change how we connect to this thing if it's always going to be there. So I definitely would say, message to my anxiety is that really transformational piece to remind us that, hey, we all feel like a flower in the middle of winter sometimes, just like completely frozen, but there's ways to break free.
Absolutely. And that is beautiful. And something that you said is really striking to me, and that is you being aware that you present as a confident person, but being conscious enough to know that that may be misleading to people who don't feel as confident or who are struggling with anxiety. And then rather than you creating this separation and saying, well, I'm confident and you're not, and giving, because that would further send a person in anxiety and who's not confident into a spiral, thinking that you, for example, may be a standard they can't achieve. Well, you're so confident, you're so this. So you opening your door up and letting them get a peek behind the curtain, so to speak, to say, I may look this way, I may appear this way, but trust me, I have my own struggles. That really allows people who may hold you at a higher standard that they don't think is achievable for them. And it may bridge that gap there and allow them to see a path and an avenue to where they can maybe arrive where you are, rather than you making it look unachievable. That is powerful. That's true power there, to show vulnerability like that for other people. So kudos to you.
Thank you. And I love your reflection of it, because that's exactly it. Because I'd be in crowds and I'm like, you see people on stage and it's like, okay, I will never be like that person. I could never get there. So I really wanted to create a different narrative, because I'm somebody who became an author because I had a journal. Oh, and I have the journal here actually. Because I had a journal and I was like, you know what? Like, I was like, oh my God, I want to write a book, but how can I ever write a book? Like, I don't know what to write. Then I'm like, wait, I have this journal. This is a book
Right.
in itself.
Right.
And that's, so now I just want to encourage people, like, write in a journal, because you never know what it could become. I never thought I would be an author, but now I'm here 3 books later because of that one journal. So it's achievable. It's possible.
Of course, absolutely. And a lot of people like to gatekeep that, and say, I've done something you can't. And that's a traumatic, that comes from trauma. To, we all want to feel like we're important enough, and that we've somehow surpassed our neighbors as being excellent. But really the true, there's a concept called Ubuntu, and that it basically means, how can I win if you're not winning? How is winning? How do I even conceive a concept of having won or finishing the race or having crossed the finish line if I didn't take you with me? If you're back behind me, my brother, my fellow person in community, if you're back behind me having failed and not made it across the finish line, then how have I won at all? Because true winning would have taken you with me.
Like, come on now, talk about it, okay?
But you inspire these thoughts. You're inspiring these thoughts, and I think that's great. And one other thing that I would say is check on your strong friends, because it's also important. It's important what you just said. A lot of times people who are confident and who are handling their business and who have just had to learn to step up to the plate and get it done, a lot of times they're looked at like, they're fine. I don't need to check on them. So always remember that just because a person's strong and they're making it through doesn't mean that it's not challenging and difficult, and they're human too.
Exactly. A word right there. And also, when I first started writing, I felt a lot of pain and I didn't know where to share it. So I was like, how come nobody's talking about the fact that we're all feeling pain? This is making me feel crazy. So I'm like, if I don't start talking about it, I'm just going to explode. So I'm so glad that poetry allowed me to really talk about it.
Absolutely. It is a creative outlet, and it is a place where you can get away with saying the things that you can't otherwise say. and be creative about it. Give it a humorous spin, or make it rhyme. Whatever the case, and this is silly to say, but I'm just going to say it. There's a commercial. It's for like a toilet paper, like Charmin toilet paper, and the commercial starts out with, "We heard you're not supposed to talk about going to the bathroom on radio, so we decided to sing about it." And then they go into the song, and I'm like, I love that concept that they're like, okay, so you're telling me it's taboo to talk about. Great. Well, then we'll sing about it. And I love it. So you can't talk about it, write about it.
Exactly. No,
Now,
I love that.
I know it's such a silly, some Charmin bathroom commercial, but hey, I find inspiration in anything, including a bathroom commercial. So now, what is on the burner for you? What do you have going on? Are there any projects that are up and coming of any kind that your fans can look forward to?
Yes, I will say it here first because I haven't announced it yet, but it's coming up. Yeah.
Exclusive content, people.
Yes, exactly. So you better watch till the end, okay?
Exactly.
So I'm going to be hosting my second poetry showcase, like a full production, titled The Modern Day Griots, which is going to be happening in April because that's when it's National Poetry Month. And so I'm going to have a lot of different artists, new, seasoned, really come together, older artists, young artists, just to create that intergenerational conversation as well. And we're going to come together and share our stories through poetry. The reason why it's called Modern Day Griots is because griots were known in the African community society as people who would be the storytellers who kept the word. So they were very important because they'd be continuing to tell the next generations what the stories were of their previous generations. And so why I put modern day is because we are still telling our stories that are very important. But nowadays it's in a different form or realm. We're on stage, it's a different type of gathering. So I just wanted to still like give respect to the African folk tellers and the modernists that we're coming with now and just kind of put that together. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. A nice poetry showcase.
That's incredible. And I love that concept of being like almost the human book, the human storyteller, the one to carry on that information. I love that. Now, is this something that's happening at a physical location? Is it an online event?
Right now it's physical, but I am hoping to just waiting for a few things to come through to be able to make it online as well. So that we'll have the show, but then also after a writing workshop online so that people can access it across the globe. Because I was doing programming earlier on in January to help debunk seasonal depression, and I got people from like LA, California, Vancouver. So just I'm really interested in doing a lot more online because there's people who don't necessarily maybe they don't have the means to even travel like that. So yeah, so I'm really looking to have an online component as well, but that one will be more of a workshop style.
Oh, wow. Well, when and if you have the information for it, be sure to come back after this video is going live and post in the comments where people can go, where they can sign up, any information you want to share with them about it. Please, because we would love to hear about that. And congratulations. That is so awesome. I love the name. I love the concept. I love that you're tying in modern day with ancestral stuff. I love that. So congrats. Now, the final question, the big question is, what advice do you have for anyone who is looking to create, to write, whatever creative avenue they're taking, whether it be on a personal level or even to achieve a professional achievement such as publication or to become a performer or just to do it in their living room? What advice do you give creative minds?
The advice that I would give creative minds is the first thing that's coming to me is to not care. Don't care too much about your progress, your path, just do it. Just if it feels right, lean into it. Don't worry about if it's a small show that you have. Don't worry if you do online shows and a little bit of people come up. Don't worry. Don't connect yourself to the results. Connect yourself to the actual progress of it. because
Right.
that's when you're going to learn the most, as opposed to counting all the numbers and the results. And also, sometimes we think that we're not good enough because we're thinking about everything else, or we're not going to post this because we're thinking about it. Don't care about anything.
Mm-hmm.
Don't care about anything. It's not going to make sense. It's not going to come together beautifully. But at the end of the day, when you look back, you're like, whoa, like that made sense. And it was my own path that I was supposed to create, not getting caught up with trying to follow somebody else's path. Because there's Instagram now, so there's so much distractions, but don't care about the distractions. Only care about yourself and what you truly want to do. And also, don't be afraid to change what you're looking to as well. Because sometimes we get so tunnel visioned in one thing, we're like, okay, I can't switch it up. Like, I'm a writer, but I'm also a dancer. So for that, it was hard for me at one point to accept both, because people just want to see you in one light. But you
Right.
have to not care what people
Mm-hmm.
say. Take advice with a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, you have to learn to gain agency to say yes or no to yourself. And I
Mm-hmm.
think one of the biggest things is to really start off by caring less, because we care too much.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And a few things that I would add to that. Number one, that's what art and creativity is about. It's the part of the world where you're not supposed to care. So we learn those things when it comes to school, academia, when it comes to proper behavior in society, when it comes to job performance. Don't carry those
Mhm.
things over into the world of creativity. This is the where you step into a space where, like you said, you don't care about those things. You're not looking for a result. You're not looking for numbers. There's no metrics to measure it against. This is a place of creativity where you let go. And so I love that you pointed that out. I think that is definitely important. And two, you may set out, even and I'm guilty of this. I want a certain level of success or fame or fortune to be tied to what I'm doing that I love. And sometimes I can get stuck on that being my goal and my initiative. But the thing about it is, if you lend yourself to the process authentically, if you allow your soul to achieve what it needs to achieve by drawing you into the creative process, because that's what's happening. Something inside of you needs to be worked out. It needs to be talked out. It
Yes.
needs to be creatively expressed, and you need to be able to put it out in a way that you may not understand. But like you said, being flexible, allow yourself to move and flow with the process rather than being stuck on a particular avenue. And in doing that, if you're lending yourself to this process authentically, you will probably, and usually most likely, and I would say always, find that you did it for a reason you didn't even expect. Like, I thought I was doing this to make money. It turns out I did it because I needed to feel something.
Yeah.
Now, the fun part is a lot of times it lines up, and by doing it authentically and achieving what you were meant to achieve for you personally, it will have a byproduct that is of success. It will have a byproduct that says, hey, you did something that healed your soul, but at the same time, somebody saw it and wanted to buy it for $10,000.
Yes.
So, you know, and so I love that. I love that's important. Don't care. Throw care to the wind. Shakoya said that she gives you permission to let go and forget about it and don't care. Be selfish.
Yes, yes, that's exactly it.
Listen, you are a wonderful spirit, and I've enjoyed genuinely our conversation. And I'm so grateful that you came on, and I am thrilled that you shared even exclusive content with us. I hope that anybody watching that can partner with you in any way on that project to make it everything that it has potential to be, to definitely reach out to you. So thank you so much. You guys be sure to go grab Poems of Pain and Power at either Amazon.com. Yes, that's what it looks like. There it is. It's by Shakkoi Hibbert. And tell us again the website it's available on.
Yeah, so www.needsome, so needsomekoi.com. So needsomekoi.com.
Needsomekoi.com. That's because you need your Shakkoi
Yeah.
fix every now and then. Okay,
Period.
that's where you go to get it. And again, if you pop back in and leave that link in the comments so people can scroll down and find it. And I'm sure we will come back together again in some capacity or another. I will love to have you back on for some of your other projects. So so stay tuned, and hopefully we will have Shakkoi back again. In the meantime, grab her book, become a fan, leave her reviews, and thank you, Miss Shakkoi. Any parting words?
My parting words would be my motto, which is to release the doubt and step out, because that's what we do with art, baby.
Release the doubt and step out. I love it. Thank you so much, guys. Until
Thank you
next
for
time, crazy
having me.
babies. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. All right, crazy babies. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Jam Sessions with today's author. Be sure to check out their book and grab a copy. Also, check these great books out. My children's book called Beautiful Boy by Joseph Micah, available on Amazon.com. A great collection of poetry by Alicia Hodge, titled I May Be a Romantic, But I'm Not Hopeless, available on Amazon.com. Another great collection of poetry by Marie Dawn Moldovan, titled 20 Years of Winter, also available on Amazon.com. And last but not least, this is the first book, Vocus Animarum, in a series, a 7-book series titled Philly Der Bedlam. Again, this is the first book that is out and available, Vocus Animarum. It's also available on Amazon.com. Be sure to stay tuned. Right after this, I'm going to leave you with a teaser video about that series. The author not only directed and produced this video, but he also created the music that you'll hear in the background. Enjoy.